Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of voice of radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a new Orbeetle. I'm going to tell you this straight off the bat, right? For free, this new Orbeetle sounds awesome. I'm genuinely a little bit psyched about it. Now, our translation here comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet, which frankly is a phrase you should be getting used to hearing and hopefully isn't going to go away anytime soon, because we like the lovely Antoine Boulet and, well, there seems to be cards to translate fairly regularly. Now, starting off with the basics, we got 110 HP. Now, 110 HP on a stage 1 is not particularly good. Orbeetle isn't a stage 1. Orbeetle is a stage 2. 110 is absolute trash garbage. Now, we've only actually had one non-GX Orbeetle before. It was the one in Sword and Shield that at least had the decency to have 130, which incidentally is not good for a stage 2. So, you know what? We're not loving the HP here. Now, in terms of the retreat cost of 1 means free retreat with U-turn board, etc., which is nice. You've got a resistance to fighting, which, I mean, it's quite nice to have a resistance. It means something like an Excadrill won't get a one-hit KO immediately, so it's not terrible. And the weakness to darkness with stuff like Eternatus running around is not good, but it's not really Eternatus. Eternatus will destroy you anyway. It's things like Spiritomb being able to get a really easy KO. I mean, 2 damage counters on a Spiritomb, 70 damage, 140, yeah, he gone. And you're a Psychic type, which is interesting, of course, because we've never had a Psychic type Orbeetle before. We've only had Orbeetle and Orbeetle V/V Max, and these have all been Grass type. So that's interesting, if nothing else. Being a Psychic type, I mean, yeah, you're hitting weakness on Mewtwo and Mew, not that that's really terribly relevant, but you are, which is quite nice. And you can use Horror Energy, not that you're probably going to, but you know, that's not bad. But I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the first attack here. And I actually full-on translated this myself, and then clearly checked with the lovely Antoine Boulet to make sure I wasn't being dumb. And I wasn't. For each energy attached to this Pokemon, minimum 1 colorless energy, you may search your deck for a Stage 2 Pokemon, excluding Orbeetle, and put it onto your bench. So if you've got 2 energy attached, you can search for 2 Stage 2s and bench them. 3 energy attached, you can search for 3 Stage 2s and bench them. If you want to play a multiple Stage 2 deck, and you want to play a deck of a bunch of Stage 2s, this is it. This is the best, and it's not even close. It's not like there's any particular challenger coming along. If you want to play a Stage 2 deck, there is nothing that is as good as this. Now, eagle-eyed among you may do exactly what I did at this stage and go, well, hang on a second. It's Cradily. We've seen this ability before. We saw it on the Cradily from Plasma Blast, and that Cradily from Plasma Blast never saw a huge amount of play. Interesting side note, of course, the Cradily from Plasma Blast could actually get other Cradily. Not that you'd really want to, but you could. This cannot get other Orbeetle, whether this or the one from Sword and Shield. But I don't care, because there are 3 reasons why this is so much better than Cradily was. And a bunch of people, myself included, did try and make Cradily work. But there are 3 reasons this is way better than Cradily. Reason number 1, it's not a fossil. Fossils aren't just Stage 2s, fossils are Stage 2s which are particularly awkward to get into play, so this is better there. Reason number 2, Cradily was a grass energy, and then what other energy you could put on there, but you had to have the grass. This is a colorless, so it is literally any energy you like. Reason number 3, triple acceleration energy exists. Triple acceleration energy is just an energy card that you attach to an evolved Pokemon, and it is free colorless energy. Now, it gets discarded at the end of your turn, but that shouldn't really matter with something like Orbeetle. And essentially here, you whack a triple acceleration energy on, and for 1 energy attachment, you search for 3 Stage 2s and put them straight onto your bench. This is why I cannot take the comparison with Cradily seriously. Cradily was a fossil Pokemon that needed grass energy. This is a regular Stage 2 that can use any energy, including triple acceleration. For what it's worth, it can also use twin energy to get 2 Stage 2s, and it can use Welder to get 2 Stage 2s. Bearing in mind that is 2 Stage 2s before you've used your attachment for the turn. There is a world here, and it's going to happen so seldom even if you try for it. But there is legitimately a world where you Welder 2 fire energy on, attach a triple acceleration energy for your turn, and get 5 Stage 2s. You literally fill your bench with Stage 2s, and that's kind of hilarious. No, that's never going to really work reliably, but I don't particularly care. And my point here is that you have got so many options here for Pokemon that you can use because it's colourless energy. So you can go with whatever deck you like. You can literally play a Charizard deck. And you've got the Charizard from Vivid Voltage that does 100 damage plus 50 for each Leon in your discard pile, which is pretty good. And you've got then that ability that lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand and discard the other 2. And then you've got the Charizard from Team Up that lets you accelerate energy, which is incidentally quite nice. It's got the ability that lets you put 2 damage counters on it and attach 2 energy from your deck, and then do 30 damage, discarding all fire energy and doing an extra 50 for each one discarded. Though I do think the one from Sword and Shield Vivid Voltage is quite a bit better. So what you do here is you just play a Charizard deck with Welder and all of that, and you put like a 2/2/2 Orbeetle line in. And then you don't even need to use Orbeetle. Like, obviously it would be awesome if you did, but you don't need to. So you just come and rock along, and then either you play it normally, or there's that one turn where you can Welder onto an Orbeetle, attach for your turn, and get free Charizard. And remember, you are getting them from your deck. So there is nothing that needs to be done other than getting Orbeetle into the active. That'll work beautifully. But the thing I really love about this is it lets you use all kind of dumb techs. So pre-rotation, we've got stuff like Dragonite. Dragonite, the one from Team Up, has got that really lovely ability that once during a turn lets you search for a supporter card. Well, if you're just grabbing random Stage 2s or whichever ones you want, go for it. Incidentally, there's also the Dragonite from Unified Minds that lets you attach a water and a lightning energy, so something to bear in mind. Remember, if you use Tapu Koko to put a lightning energy from your discard onto Orbeetle, that is another Stage 2 you're grabbing. Or the Galarian Obstagoon, the one that came around in Champion's Path, that lets you force your opponent to discard cards from their hand until they've only got 4 remaining. It's super annoying, right? Well, you know what? Totally works. Oh, and while we're talking hand disruption, might I remind you about the Hatterene, which makes both players discard a card from their hand, or at least has an ability that says that you can. Mind Hat. So maybe you go and grab an Obstagoon and a couple of Hatterene, and your opponent has to discard down till they got 4 cards in their hand, and then keep going. Could be fun. It's a kind of Stage 2 you can't really afford to play generally because it's not going to be consistent enough, and you're generally playing it as a one-off and it's a little bit awkward, but it totally works because it's literally, and here's the thing when you're playing this, right? 1 card in your deck. This Galarian Obstagoon becomes a single card in your deck that you just whack in, and then if you get the Orbeetle off, you just pop a Galarian Obstagoon on your bench, and then every single turn, you can make your opponent discard hands until they've only got, or cards from their hand, until they've only got 4 in their hand. And you're doing it every single turn. And it's 1 card in your deck. I mean, if we just stick to Sword and Shield on, which is going to be our next rotation, and just go through some of the options here, it gets silly. I mean, if you want to stay in Fire decks, we've got the Cinderace from Sword and Shield. 3 energy, 190, discard 2 energy from them. But when you move from the bench to the active, you can attach up to 2 fire energy from your discard, meaning that You're going to be able to do this turn after turn after turn, and then all of a sudden you've got a consistent Pokemon that's hitting 190 every turn and only giving up one prize, which could be kind of good. And maybe you even go for the Blaziken. Now, Blaziken is one that I've talked about on this channel, talked about. The one from Darkness Ablaze, which again works beautifully with Welder, but it's both a fire and a fighting type, so it gives you type coverage. And all of a sudden you're playing around with all these different kinds of Pokemon, and it's working beautifully. If you're against an evolution deck and you're a little bit worried, how about Metagross, which just stops evolution Pokemon attacking? If you're against a basic deck, how about Obstagoon, which stops basic Pokemon attacking? How about you go for Dusknoir, which stops special energy doing anything? And that works from the bench, so that's kind of fun. Or Shiftry, that goes into the active and makes all of your opponent's supporters into just draw free cards. How about Colossal, to just attach fire and fighting energy from your discard pile? Even if you're playing an entirely fire deck, and you're only getting one energy and you're only using half the ability, if you're getting it out for free, who even cares anymore? And certainly playing this in a Welder deck really is one that I like the idea of a lot, because you don't lose the energy and you're not forcing it to have to play triple acceleration energy when you wouldn't usually do so. But then do, of course, remember that if you use Orbeetle to get like free stage 2s out, and your opponent doesn't KO you, you can do it again next turn to fill your bench, and then you got all your stage 2s. How about if you're against a Pokemon V and GX deck and you don't think your opponent's got an answer? How about you grab a Decidueye and just lock them out of the game? That sounds like a lot of fun. How about Vanillux? If it's in the active, flip a coin if heads paralysis. So maybe you just play around with a little bit of that, try and get some cheeky paralysis going on. How about the Chandelure from Rebel Clash that takes away the weakness of all of your Pokemon with energy attached? These kind of Pokemon that you generally cannot play because you go, look, the abilities are great, but it's a stage 2 and it's never going to work and I don't trust it. Well, now all of a sudden you don't need to care about that because the fact that it's a stage 2 becomes irrelevant. Yes, I know that you've got to get Orbeetle up at the beginning of the game. I do understand that. But you can go all in. You can use Rosa after a KO. Rosa will search for an item card, which will blatantly be a rare candy, and a Pokemon and an energy. So then hopefully you've got a way to get, your triple acceleration, etc. on top of that. Obviously, if you use Rosa, you're not also going to be able to use Welder. So you have been warned. Stage 2 decks work. One of the biggest issues with Stage 2 decks are they are too slow, so you get behind a little bit, and it's hard to keep them going. And the great thing about Orbeetle is, even if you get out a prize or two, you can just grab a Pokemon like Obstagoon, which is going to frustrate your opponent literally for the rest of the game and make their job so much more difficult as you go through. Or you grab your Dusknoir, which is going to make sure that your opponent just is not in a position to really win because they're relying on special energy. And that really mitigates the fact that you've had a slower start to the game. Or you just go and search out your big Pokemon and you're a prize or two down, but you're attacking with your big stage 2s, so it really is nowhere near as bad. I know that we had this with Cradily before and it didn't really work, but I've told you why this is so much, ridiculously better than Cradily. And I know it's a stage 2s and stage 2 can be awkward, but again, the fact that you can grab any stage 2 here, and I really do think that between Welder and triple acceleration energy, you can reliably get free stage 2s without worrying too much about it. I really do think this is the kind of card where somebody is going to come and make a ridiculous broken deck. I mean, for a while, people were trying to use Inteleon to play multiple stage 2s. And, teching in stuff like Swampert to help. Tell me this isn't a much better idea, ladies and gentlemen. I really like this. I'm giving it 4 Wassies, and I know a lot of people are going to dismiss this card as too awkward and too inconsistent and all of that. And I understand entirely, and it's hard to be mad, and this is absolutely something I could be wrong about. but I really do think that some people are going to come around and make a really broken deck with this card. And do remember, it's not just the Stage 2s that we have now, it is every Stage 2 that we ever get until Orbeetle rotates out. Incidentally, the Orbeetle from Sword and Shield is a really fun card because it lets you rearrange the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Really nice combo with Obstagoon here. You cannot grab this using Orbeetle's attack, but if you're playing an Orbeetle line, you can just play one of these and evolve up manually. I could have spoken for literally for an hour about this card and the possible combos that are there, but one-off techs to frustrate your opponent, either in terms of fun abilities or attacks that block them. Playing a Stage 2 fire deck, but being able to play 3 or 4 different fire Pokemon, depending on the matchup. Oh, there is so much fun to be had here, ladies and gentlemen, and I am delighted. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.